of May.
It is.
Last day of May. June is
right.
here.
Yes.
Wow. We got to talk about this poll. I know we're only going to spend a minute on it.
Jay, I started this yesterday, and I should have known better. It's a bad job.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
but I can understand. I can understand how maybe you thought, well, maybe there will be some common sense applied. Tell everybody what you did.
So yesterday on the show, man, I'm looking sloppy. I was supposed to get a haircut yesterday, and I was going to have a beard shave.
It's all right.
And
it's Friday,
and
man.
I had to cancel till today. So anyway, I apologize. But so we were talking. I don't even know how the comparison came. Oh, I know how it came up. Mike brought up an article from The Ringer, or was it not an article, but a podcast, in which they talked about the players with the most pressure.
Right.
And so, we talked about Deshaun, we talked about Aaron Rodgers, and we talked about Dak Prescott.
Fair. And then all of those guys have.
And so we came to so I think I just, from that, said, we'd all rather have Dak Prescott than Deshaun Watson right now, right? And Earl disagreed. And I said, Mike, we got to put out a poll. And I insanely said, of course everybody's going to pick Dak Prescott because he's been a million times better the last 3 years. Yeah. Earl's argument was, at his best, Deshaun Watson's absolute best was better than Dak, which I agreed with.
The problem with that argument is it was 4 years ago.
Right. And I feel like even at his best, I don't think Deshaun is that much better than Dak. And that's not because Deshaun's not that good. I think Dak's a little underrated, personally.
Underrated?
I think he's a little underrated.
Oh, no kidding.
Do you know why?
Yeah.
Because Dak Prescott is like the measuring rod, right? He's the demarcation of if you're really good or you just.
It's him and Kirk Cousins.
Right. Yeah, so,
he and Cousins.
So if you
Tua's getting close to that.
Yeah, it's the demarcation of.
I would put Tua behind both of them for me personally.
I would too, but I think they're all poster childs for what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you really elite? If you're really elite, they're like, oh yeah, you better than Dak. But if you ain't had no playoff victories, if you ain't really done nothing, you haven't got past the first round, or you put up some decent numbers, then you are in the Dak Prescott area, which is the reason why, sometimes it looks like they don't even want to give him a long-term deal, right? Tua.
Sure.
Are they going to give Tua money?
I don't know.
I don't know. So I can see why people say that.
And what's funny is, so I said, and Mike gave us the results after like 2 minutes. Only like 50 people had voted.
Yeah, those flash polls don't count.
But what was
we
funny
have a lot
is
of results now.
We got the final results, and they haven't changed from the first 50, essentially. The percentages stayed the same.
It's about 68%.
So we have, and we put this on our community tab.
Yeah.
And it's been up for 21 hours now. We have just shy of 2,800 votes. So this is a big sample size.
Yeah.
And it is at 68,
relatively speaking.
Yeah.
68% for Deshaun, 32% for Dak Prescott.
Now,
we are just shy of 2,800 votes.
Obviously, I'm not breaking any news here. If you were to put this poll to a national audience,
yes,
the results would be more than flip.
Oh, a lot more.
Like I would guess 80% would say, "Give me Dak Prescott."
At least 80%. And here's the way I put it yesterday, or it might have been Jason or somebody that said it first before me. But think about it this way: let's say in crazy world that instead of being traded to the Browns, Deshaun Watson had been traded to the Falcons because that was the other team that was.
They were interested.
And let's say for the last 2 years, Deshaun Watson had not been on the Browns; he'd been on the Falcons. And everything that he did on and off the field
happened in Atlanta.
Happened exactly in Atlanta. No difference.
And then ask Cleveland fans, you want Dak or you want Deshaun?
It would have been 99-1.
I can't imagine that anybody would have said over the last 2 years of body of work that they would say, give me Deshaun over Dak.
That's right. But I get it. And by the way, it's not just Cleveland. Other fan bases would have done the same thing. It's their guy. I get it.
What's interesting about this, in the market where Dak plays, it might be surprisingly different from the national audience.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There are people in Dallas that are absolutely done with Dak Prescott. Done.
Yeah.
Now, all of that being said, you can only compare what we've seen on the field the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for Deshaun, there was 1 year where he didn't play.
Right.
Then there were 2 years where he played 6 and 5 games.
Right.
Not enough to make a definitive decision, but that's the information we have.
Right, that's all we have right now.
And like you, I'm not surprised because this is why our hurt in Cleveland runs so deep when we do lose.
Yes.
Because the expectations are unrealistic.
At times,
it's unrealistic expectations. And what I've learned in my lifetime as my fandom is I lower expectations. So my fall isn't from the 30th floor, it's from the 5th floor.
And what's funny about that to me, about you, Jay, is of all the people I know in my life, you are one of the most optimistic, positive people I've ever met.
I try to be.
And so the fact that you go the opposite
You're right.
when it comes to your sports teams, especially your football team, is quite weird.
It is, you're right. And I've thought that about myself, too. Because now, for my first 40 years, I was silver lining.
Okay.
I was give me Deshaun over Dak.
Yes.
But with age comes wisdom. And with wisdom comes clarity. And the fact of the matter is, like, a lot of people think that I'm a hater. I'm not.
No,
trust
not at
me,
all. Not
I
at all.
am not a hater. I know haters.
No.
I've worked with haters. I can write
Famous ones.
Webster's dictionary definition of hater.
Yeah.
I am not a hater. What I am is a realist who borders on pessimism as a fan.
Yes.
But only in that compartment in my life. Everything else, Bull,
Right.
my glass is full.
And I think for you, it's especially, it seems to me, the Browns even more than the other two
It
teams.
is, because that's the team I most want to see
How
win.
many games during the season? I always wonder this. Like, we all have a spectrum of excitement meter, right? The Kool-Aid meter goes up. If he plays well for 2.5 games, you already know what I'm saying, right?
Oh, yeah.
If he plays good,
Fit him for the gold jacket.
yeah, we can get him ready, right? If he plays good for 5 games, I think Bull will be like, I mean, this is a decent sample size.
I need to see a half a season.
I think you are a 6 to 8 to 9
Jay's
guy.
going to need the most.
I think you're right.
You were the least enthusiastic about the Browns getting him in the first place.
I was.
You know,
For all
I
of the
was
reasons.
100% all in on Deshaun Watson.
You were.
And I still believe he could turn it around. But obviously, I'm not as convinced as I was when they first got him.
No,
How
mean,
could you be?
You'd be fooling yourself.
Yeah.
If anybody out there in our audience is as excited about the trade today as they were the day it happened, you're kidding yourself.
No, yeah.
Now, there are reasons for optimism.
Sure.
The second half against Baltimore, maybe he figured it out again. Now, the sad thing is, he's going to go about 11 months between snaps that count.
That's right.
So he's going to have to figure it out again, which is really unfortunate for him. But if he did it once, he can do it again.
Right.
And there's reason for hope. It's not all doom and gloom.
No, certainly not. The team's good. They're really talented.
The team around him is loaded.
Exactly. I mean, this may be I think last year we said this might be the Browns' most talented roster in decades. Well, now again this year, this may be the Browns' most talented roster in decades.
Before we do our